The Ark of the Covenant is the most sacred object in the entire Bible, the physical dwelling place of God among his people, the golden chest that parted the Jordan River, that brought down the walls of Jericho, that struck dead a man who touched it without permission, that caused the Philistines such devastation they beg Israel to take it back. The object that sat in the Holy of Holies, the most sacred room in the most sacred building in the ancient world, where only the high priest could enter once a year under pain of death. And then one day, it disappeared. The Babylonians invaded Jerusalem, the temple was destroyed, and the ark vanished from the biblical record entirely, never mentioned again, never found, never explained. Except by one tradition, one ancient claim that has been maintained without interruption for over 1,500 years by an African church in an African nation that says the Ark of the Covenant never went to Babylon. It went to Ethiopia, and it is still.
Welcome back to Forgotten Tribes and Scrolls. Today, we open one of the most debated questions in all of biblical archaeology and sacred history. Is the Ark of the Covenant really in Ethiopia? We are going to look at the biblical evidence, the historical record, the Keber Nagast, and the extraordinary tradition of the guardian monk who has watched over it alone for centuries. This is not a conspiracy theory. This is a 1,500-year-old claim made by one of the oldest Christian institutions on earth. Let's examine it carefully. To understand the claim, we first need to understand what the ark was and what it meant. Exodus chapter 25, God gives Moses specific instructions for building the ark. It was a chest of acacia wood, overlaid entirely with pure gold, about 4 feet long and 2.5 feet wide. On top of the chest was the mercy seat, a golden lid with 2 golden cherubim facing each other with wings spread upward. Inside the ark were 3 things: the stone tablets of the 10 Commandments, a golden jar of manna, and Aaron's staff that had budded. The ark was the physical representation of God's presence among his people. When it moved, Israel moved. When it stopped, Israel camped. It went before them into battle. The Jordan River parted when the priests carrying it stepped into the water. The walls of Jericho fell as Israel marched around the city with the ark at the center. It was not just a religious artifact. It was the throne of God on earth. And then it vanished. The last confirmed sighting of the ark in the canonical Bible is in 2 Chronicles chapter 35. King Josiah of Judah, during his great religious reform, instructs the Levites to put the ark back in the temple. That is around 621 BC. Then Josiah dies. The reforms collapse. Babylon invades. Jerusalem falls in 586 BC. The temple is destroyed, and the ark is never mentioned again in the canonical biblical text. Not in the account of the Babylonian invasion, not in the lists of temple treasures carried off to Babylon, not in the account of the return from exile when the second temple was built. It simply disappears. The prophet Jeremiah, writing around this exact period, says in Jeremiah chapter 3, verse 16, that in the future days, people will no longer talk about the ark, or think about it, or remember it. Some scholars read that as evidence that Jeremiah knew the ark was already gone, already removed from the story, before the Babylonians even arrived. Which raises the question, if the Babylonians did not take it, where did it go? The Ethiopian Orthodox Church has maintained for 1,500 years that the answer is simple. The ark is in Ethiopia, in the ancient city of Axum, in a small stone chapel called the Chapel of the Tablet, also known as the Church of Our Lady Mary of Zion. And the account of how it got there is recorded in the Keber Nagast, the Glory of Kings, the sacred Ethiopian text we looked at in the Queen of Sheba episode. According to the Keber Nagast, when Menelik, the son of Solomon and the Queen of Sheba, came to Jerusalem as a young man to meet his father, Solomon received him with great honor,
He was recognized. He was celebrated. And when the time came for Menelik to return to Ethiopia, the firstborn sons of the Israeli nobles who were traveling with them made a decision. They secretly entered the Holy of Holies. They removed the Ark of the Covenant. They replaced it with a replica so perfect that the priests did not notice. And they carried the real Ark out of Jerusalem and south toward Ethiopia. The Kebra Nagast then says something remarkable. When Solomon discovered what had happened, God told him not to pursue it, because the glory of God had chosen to go with Menelik to Ethiopia, to Africa. The Ark left Jerusalem not by conquest, not by theft in the criminal sense, but by divine permission.
Here is where the Ethiopian claim becomes something you cannot easily dismiss. The Ethiopian Orthodox Church does not just claim to have the Ark. They have maintained an unbroken tradition of guardianship over it for centuries. In the Chapel of the Tablet in Axum, a single monk is appointed as the guardian of the Ark. He is appointed for life. He never leaves the chapel grounds. He lives there alone. He eats there. He sleeps there. He spends his entire remaining life in proximity to the object he has been appointed to protect. And when he dies, another guardian is immediately appointed to take his place. The chain of guardianship has never been broken. No one else is permitted to see the Ark. Not the patriarch of the Ethiopian Orthodox Church, not the president of Ethiopia, not foreign dignitaries, not archaeologists, not journalists, not anyone. The guardian alone has access, and every guardian who has ever been asked about what he protects has said the same thing. The Ark is there. This is not a recent tradition invented for tourism or politics. This is a practice that has been maintained continuously for over 1,500 years by one of the oldest Christian institutions on earth. Now, let us be honest about what we know and what we do not know. No independent verification of the Ark's presence in Axum has ever been made. No archaeologist has examined it. No scientist has tested it. The guardian monk tradition means that external verification is simply not possible. What we do have is this. The Ethiopian Orthodox Church is one of the oldest Christian institutions in the world, established in the 4th century AD. Its claim regarding the Ark is not a modern invention. It is documented in the Kebra Nagast, which scholars date to at least the 14th century in its written form, but which draws on oral traditions that are much older. The city of Axum itself was the capital of one of the ancient world's most powerful empires, the Axumite kingdom, which at its height controlled trade routes from Africa to Arabia to India. It was a city of genuine historical and political significance, not a remote village making a provincial claim. And the Ethiopian royal dynasty, which maintained power until Emperor Haile Selassie was deposed in 1974, traced its lineage directly to Solomon and the Queen of Sheba. The claim of the Ark was not peripheral to Ethiopian identity, it was central to it, woven into the theology, the monarchy, and the national consciousness of an entire civilization for 3,000 years.
We cannot prove the Ark of the Covenant is in Ethiopia, but we also cannot prove it is not. What we can say with certainty is this. The most ancient, the most documented, and the most enduring claim about where the Ark went after it disappeared from the biblical record comes from Africa, from Ethiopia, from a church that has maintained the claim without interruption for over 1,500 years. Every other theory about the Ark, that it went to Babylon, that it is buried under the Temple Mount, that it is in Ireland, that it was hidden by the priests before the Babylonians arrived. Every other theory is speculation without institutional memory behind it. The Ethiopian claim has 1,500 years of unbroken tradition, a documented sacred text, a royal dynasty, and a living guardian monk behind it. Whether you believe it or not, it deserves to be taken seriously. And it deserves to be known.
Subscribe to Forgotten Tribes and Scrolls. Next episode, the Lost Tribes of Israel. Did the 10 northern tribes that vanished after 722 BC end up in Africa? The Lemba of Zimbabwe, the Beta Israel of Ethiopia, the Igbo of Nigeria, the DNA evidence, the cultural evidence, and what the Bible says about the future restoration of the lost tribes. That episode is going to be extraordinary. See you there.